Alright, back again, Luke here. And as you can see in front of you, this is an NEC CD-ROM 2 unit, and what we're going to be doing with this one here is replacing the capacitors on it and taking a look at the inside to make sure that the gears are okay. One common problem with these machines is that the gears for the laser mechanism will actually lock up, and I've made a video on it a long time ago, but we'll take a look at it and I'll show you it again so you guys can take another look. And yeah, looks like it needs a bit of cleaning, but we'll get on that right now. Alright, so to open this thing up, what we're going to do is remove the screws on the back here. There's 4 screws. These are just Phillips screws. It should be quite easy as long as we have the right screwdriver to do it. They're just Phillips screws here, so actually to make this a little bit better, what I'm going to do is put down a bit of padding here so we don't scratch anything up. This thing has a few different screws in it, different colored screws. Some are silver, some are black. There's a silver one. Whee! Alright. 2 of these are original, 2 of them are not original, which leads me to believe that somebody's been in here before me playing around, and we'll see what damage has been done. Alright, one thing that you'll notice right off the bat with these units is that they'll have a ground wire that's attached. That ground wire is usually attached by a drop of solder. You don't have to disconnect it, you just have to be careful. Just move it out of the way here. And there's 1 screw here in the middle, and we're just going to remove that. And once you remove this, you got to be really careful because there are 2 ribbon cables that are located on the side here, on this side, and on the other side, and they have the ribbon cables for the laser mechanism, so you really got to watch out. There's 1, and let's see here, we'll move around to the other side. Where is it? Ah, there it is. You guys can see here. All you have to do is just pull down on this and then pull the ribbon cable out. And now this should fold back a bit more so you can get a bit better look at the inside here. Now, as you take a look at these gears on the mechanism itself, you'll notice that this yellow colored gear here, this is the one that's usually the problem. I've mentioned this in videos before, but it usually gets really soft and brittle and then will eventually fall apart. But this thing right now is seized up. It is completely solid right now, and that is from a lack of lubrication on these rails. So what we're going to have to do is kind of put some lubrication on the rails. I'll remove this here and remove that cog right there to try and free things up a little bit, and I'll show you what I do after that. As far as the capacitors go, there are a few dozen capacitors on the top part here, so these are the ones that we're going to be taking a look at. What I'll do is just probably show you guys a before here at all the capacitors. You can see they're not in the greatest of condition by any means. This one's got a lot of dents and stuff, scratch marks on the top, and these ones are all bent over. But we'll remove all those, and I'll show you the after part. So be back in a little bit. Alright, so this is the only one here, but this one is trapped underneath some very, very hard glue. So what we're going to have to do is kind of chisel this away here, and then try and get a new cap to fit in there. Here's the 2 100s, those are already in there, but this is the only one that seems to be situated by glue, so it's a little bit of a pain. We'll remove that, get those out, get all the rest of these ones out over here, and swap them out. So get on that right now. Alright, so as you guys can see here, I had to lift up this wire, which was actually pushed down like this. It was actually tacked in place, as you can see, as this wire over here. But unfortunately, 2 of the capacitors that I needed to replace on the top were underneath this wire here, so I had to kind of pry it up here and get at these at the bottom. It wasn't too big of a deal, but one thing that you have to worry about with this older board here is that sometimes the traces will start to lift up. Sometimes they'll actually break free free, so you have to try and see if you know, if there is any breaks in it. Make sure that you find the ends to them and get them put back down there. It's really tricky. These boards are quite old, so don't be surprised if you find some of the traces or some of the area around the trace breaking apart. It's just the age of the board. So nonetheless, we'll get back on the other section here and try and finish up the top part. So let's get on that. Alright, so here's another little side note. Around this area here towards the back where the volume dial is, what you need to be careful of is this 3.3 microfarad capacitor. Now, if you take a look at the bottom here, this one is a really tricky one. It's really hard to see, but you can see this dot right here. Maybe I can use my probe and show you. This little dot right here, this is a very fine trace that goes up to this leg here. And when you go and you remove the solder, sometimes you might break this trace. Just make sure that you have it connected when you go and put it back there. It's one that's kind of tricky to see, but yeah, that's the 3.3 microfarad capacitor. But I figured I'd throw that in there for you guys. We're almost there, almost finished with the cap replacement, but we'll get on the rest of them and finish this off. Alright, so there we go. We've got all the caps back in here. Some of these had to be leaned down a little bit in order to get them into place, but all the caps in here are all replaced. Now the next thing to do is to work on this main laser mechanism here. And the first thing we want to do is try and get this gear off. The way we're going to get this gear off here is there's a small plastic washer, and this washer has a small slit in it. So by using a really thin flathead screwdriver or a very thin knife, you will be able to pry that washer off and slide this gear out. So we're going to give that a shot right now and get that going. Alright, so as you can see here, we have our plastic washer off. When you go to take this thing off, what I recommend doing is place your finger over top of it and then, you know, try and pull this off. You really don't want this thing to go flying, as it is this small. It is a very, very small plastic washer, but without this, it's really gonna make it so the gear will go flying off, and, you know, come loose, and you'll have a lot of problems. So this is a very important part. Another thing that you'll find too are these bushings, and these bushings, normally there's 3 of them. Unfortunately, I've only found 2. Those bushings are located in here. Those are used to keep the unit stable. There's actually supposed to be 3 of them. There's 2 over here on the side and 1 up here in the front, but unfortunately I've only found 2. They just generally fall out or can be taken out really easily once you remove the screws that hold this top part in. And then because this has a magnetic lid, it's a little bit difficult to get out, so you just have to lightly pull up on it a little bit, and then you can remove the unit here. When you go to replace it and put it back down, it'll kind of grab hold of itself and push that down, so you don't have to worry about it too much. Now the next thing we're gonna have to do, like I said, this gear here is locked up, so we're gonna have to try and slightly release this gear here without crushing these teeth on here. Unfortunately, as these gears get older, you'll notice that just the middle one turns yellow. This yellow gear is notorious for becoming more and more brittle over time, and as it becomes brittle, you'll lose a lot of control. You'll lose basically all of the functionality of the laser mechanism. But this one still seems to be okay. There's some places that sell these online. I think some forums actually sell them as well. Some guys make them. But you can see here, this is the gear itself. This one actually has all its teeth, and it still feels pretty solid, so it shouldn't be such a big issue. There is a lot of pressure that gets put on these, as the gear itself, I mean, it's pulling this whole laser mechanism here, and it does take a lot, especially once this thing starts to get stuck. As you can see here, this one's not really doing anything. Once this thing starts to get stuck, as this motor puts pressure on this middle gear here, what it'll do is it'll eventually just chew the teeth right off of it, because it gets brittle over time. So what we're going to do next is try and grease up this rail here and slide this back and forth a few dozen times. Try and turn this here. It feels really, really stuck in there. On the other side, you can push this back. it'll slide back like that. You can see down here in the end, that end part too, you can pull this back just a little ways and you can get down in there a little bit with some oil. I recommend putting a little bit of oil in there, like some bicycle oil or something like that. That'll actually try and free it up. For the rest of this will be the white lithium grease to keep this going. And then we'll put a little bit of grease around here as well. For this shaft or this post here, what we're going to do is use not grease, but we're going to use a little bit of bicycle oil, because that will help free this thing up. As you can see here, it's been sticking on the back. That's why there's some rub marks on the back there. But we'll try and use a little bit of bicycle oil to free this up and you know, pull it in and twist it around a little bit to free it up. But let's get in on that and try and get this thing going here. Alright, so taking a little bit more of a closer inspection on this, you can see that whoever put this thing back together also has put this thing back together incorrectly, as the ribbon cable will no longer go any further than this. It's stuck right here. It just keeps hitting this. That is the main reason why that's happening, is because somebody has put this on the wrong way and has stretched it out. This thing is not supposed to go on like that. This is to hold the ribbon cable. You can see somebody's used some two-sided tape here as well. But this ribbon cable should be, you know, somewhat flexible. I didn't even notice that. That's some electrical tape right there. Yeah, these things are in pretty rough shape. But normally this thing will sit down in here and it will stay flat against the rail here. But it needs to be able to move backwards. This is just totally a mess. So we'll see what we can do about trying to get this thing all put back together here. But I'm trying to remember exactly the right way that this thing goes in. But one thing is for sure, that is not the correct way. Oh, you know what? It looks like this thing may be over as of right now. I just noticed something which is really kind of frustrating. That is the ribbon cable on the inside here is cut, and that is because somebody has put the thing together wrong. So this is probably a big reason why this is not working. This will need a new laser now, just because of you know, simple error, just really simple error nonetheless. But I'm sure you guys can see down here. Here is the other half of the ribbon cable, and it is cut in half. So that is the end of that ribbon cable right there. That's there's nothing we can do about that. I mean, I could try and run some traces, or try and, you know, repair the traces there, but those are a lot of traces to try and repair really, really thin. So one thing that you got to be careful of when you go to put this stuff back together, make sure that you don't have the parts in the wrong position, or else they will tear. I'll take the laser out and show you guys a little bit more in detail as to what's happened with it, but yeah, I'll be back in a few seconds. Alright, well, while I'm here, I figure I'll show you guys how to do this laser removal. If you spin the spindle here, you'll notice there's one screw down here, and if you spin it again, you'll see there's another screw down here. What you need is a really, really fine Phillips head screwdriver, and what you'll do is remove the screws out of here. You'll need to remove these because there's another screw that's hidden behind here, and when the motor's all the way back, you can't get to that screw, which removes the laser mechanism. So once you remove the screws here, you'll be able to remove the motor, and the motor will fall out as long as the laser is out of the way. Now you can get access to these 2 points here, and you'll be able to get your laser unit out. That's how you can do the laser replacement. So figured I'd add that to the video to help you guys out, and we'll take these 2 screws out. I'll show you guys a little bit of a closer look as to what happened to this laser. Alright, so as you guys can see here, here is what happened to the ribbon cable. Ribbon cable is cut along these 2 points here. It's still attached along the bottom there, but those other points are connected up here to the other part of the ribbon cable. And yeah, I mean, it's just seared in half, and that is just from having this put in the wrong way and not being fixed up. This whole electrical tape thing is just not cutting it either. But yeah, so as of right now, this board is completely recapped, but unfortunately it's going to need a new laser mechanism in order to work. So we're going to leave this one here, and yeah, like I said, like I'd mentioned for the, if we go back here to the gear, at least I can show you guys some more with this gear situation. I put some bicycle oil on the gear itself, and then I slid the gear up and down a few times, and what this will do is help keep it free, and it'll really slide up and down now a lot easier. Now you can see that the gear actually turns, so I'm not putting much pressure on this at all. It will actually feel a little bit tight, but that's normal. It's because this gear here has pressure on it from this plate here, so don't be afraid if you feel like, okay, it's got a lot of pressure on it. That's a common thing. And even after you get this thing put back together, what you may hear with the motor turning is you may hear it go like that. That's also normal. It's just a lot of pull on the motor itself. You can try and make it a little bit smoother here by maybe putting a little bit of oil underneath this. And like I'd mentioned before, put some oil on the bottom here inside this cap, because on the inside, this thing can actually pull out here, you can see, and there's usually grease on the inside. You could use grease as well, but just make sure you put something in there. As that dries up, it does make things a little bit more sticky, and you'll find that the gears and everything don't move. But yeah, so as of right now, unfortunately, this one here as well is, you know, it's dead just because of a cut ribbon cable there. But yeah, nonetheless, hopefully this video help a few of you guys out there as far as the capacitors go, and maybe the small gear here. And like I had mentioned, you can pick this up on some forums. There are some people who have actually gone and taken this third gear out and have made it so the motor and this gear here just run on 2 different gears. It's like a two gear set. They're 2 metal ones, and then it requires like reversing the polarity on the motor. Because with this third gear, when this thing is running clockwise, this gear here is running counterclockwise, and then this one is turning clockwise. But when you do it with the 2 gears reversed, when you put this one as a clockwise one, this one's going to be running counterclockwise. So you have to reverse the polarity, which is it's pretty simple. All you have to do is change the two wires here for the motor. You just have to swap them around if you decide to go with the 2 pinion set instead of the 3 set. And like I mentioned, some people say it's a little bit noisy, but it does get the job done. So if you want to try and completely avoid this one, you can do that. And there are some people online who are selling them. But one thing to be very careful of is when you are messing around with the laser mechanism itself, be very, very careful of these ribbon cables, as they will rip and break quite easily. And once they do, it's not impossible to repair, but really to repair them, it takes a lot of work. You have to run a lot of jumper wires here, and it can get kind of messy. So yeah, try and avoid all that, and yeah, save yourself the hassle. But that's about all for me for right now. Like always, I'll put up another video here soon, so thanks for watching.